In this first story, OP has to miss a session, and things go downhill from there. Let's make sure this log lands on the fire. Our group started a new 3.5e D&D campaign about 6 months ago, and sessions, for the most part, went smoothly, at least until you got to the exploration part of the game or tried to follow the plot. Our DM is one of those gotcha DMs who thinks he is being smart by treating everyone else like they're stupid, saying, "You need to search your surroundings because you'll never know if you'll find a diamond in the rough." Unfortunately, he doesn't understand the idea that in order to find the diamond in the rough, you first need to know there's a rough in your surroundings. It's like being in a house that's on fire. If you don't tell us there's a fire, or give us signs that a fire is starting, how are we supposed to know it's on fire in the first place? Is it until we start taking fire damage or suffocate in the smoke? The exploration part of the games usually goes one of two ways. We enter a place of story/lore significance, and we try to figure out what's going on. But the DM refuses to tell us much even though we're asking the right question, stating that they weren't specific enough to his liking, to the point where you have to somehow know that you need to sacrifice a princess to a demon during a full moon at midnight while playing the banjo and singing the primordial language of the serpent to figure out that the glass is shattered because a dart went through it. He doesn't give us key information, like a description of a particular location, or tell us that there's broken glass on the floor to indicate a particular aspect of the location. We need to deduce what happened, and thus it makes us look like idiots, while he giggles like a schoolgirl thinking of how smart he's being. This lack of information became a big problem when I missed a session. I don't remember what exactly it was, but I know that I missed a session because I was either sick or had something to do that evening, and so the session went on without me. In any case, I felt comfortable with the idea that I wouldn't be missing anything too important in terms of story or exploration, but I wasn't expecting him to spit in the face of my character. For context, my character had some pretty awesome gear on her that our DM irresponsibly gave us. Basically, there was this NPC who was the god of trades and would give just about anything for a bargain, no matter how small or legendary. The long and short of it is, our rogue traded an item, and this entity said that he would give us 10k gold or 11 magic items. Naturally, we took the latter, and they were more or less randomly generated loot. So, this party of level 2s got some mid to late game tier stuff because maybe the DM thought it would be fun. Admittedly, it was fun, but it didn't really stick with you. To me, it just feels like something I can exploit with very little to no consequences. I ended up getting a +5 harness of giant strength, which buffed my strength from an 18 to a 23, a lantern of revealing, a pearl necklace of water breathing, and a breastplate that did 1d4 lightning damage whenever I was struck by an attack. So session comes, and our DM needs a reason to explain why I can't be with the party, rather than doing the logical thing, such as having my character go off and do some work at the church, or perhaps do some small activities while the party dealt with the story stuff. He decided to have my character get kidnapped. When he told me about it, I was admittedly interested to see where this would go. It would make for a great story arc as the party tries to find me, and I make my daring escape from my captors and meet up with the party and we go kick some butt. It would be a great experience for us as characters to grow and show how we needed to stick together to survive. And the party really wanted to see that, as I could see it in their eyes when he recapped the session. But instead, he said, "Your character was kidnapped. You woke up completely naked, stripped of all your gear, but you made your escape, and now you have a +1 masterwork longsword and some leather armor." I was in a bit of shock. Did he really just say that? I really just lost all of my gear? Absolutely everything? The DM smiled and nodded. "Yep, nothing inappropriate like assault or anything like that happened. They just wanted to ransom you back to the party." Like that makes it any better. Other players have missed sessions and you just had them go off and work at their temples. Why does my character get kidnapped? While you say I wasn't assaulted, why would they take everything off my person? Narratively speaking, the kidnapping kinda made sense, as it was some kind of assassin guild or something. But even then, if I was going to escape at the next session, why have me kidnapped in the first place? You might be thinking that I'm angry over the loss of some good magic items, and you would be partially correct. Yeah, losing magic items stinks, but I don't try to get attached to my stuff, and when you have a wizard in the party, it's an easy fix. The problem was more or less in how the situation presented itself. If I'm gone for literally one game for reasons out of my control, why do I get punished by losing all of my gear? Not to mention, he didn't even bother asking me if I was okay with my character getting kidnapped, especially given the circumstances of the abduction itself. It was also a complete contradiction to the character herself. Had it been just the magic items, it would have been, "Aw man, that stinks, but oh well, I got more." But to take all of her magical items, strip her of her dignity, and remove any agency that I as a player had in the situation? Not to mention it's something completely random and inconsequential with no bearing other than, "Lol, your character was kidnapped and now she's naked. Aren't I such a great and smart DM?" is completely nonsensical. I wrote the character as this stoic ranger who does everything in her power to protect the mortal realm from threats beyond this world. Coming from a traumatic childhood and adolescent life, she had to escape her old life and is now trying to do some good in the world and hopefully find some friends or family along the way, while still harboring an anger for the person who put her in that life to begin with. Having this character not only be kidnapped, stripped of everything that she holds dear, from her swords to the very clothes on her back, and waking up in a very similar situation to the one she left, is traumatizing to her. Not to mention, it ruins a lot of what I've been trying to do with her, and the fact that the DM more or less just ignores the trauma, acts as if nothing happened, and keeps the continuity, makes me wonder why it happened in the first place. DMs should never punish characters for missing a session. I don't know how the DM thought that this made any sense, especially since this was the only case where something like this happened. Frankly, parties should find a new DM if the DM loves feeling so superior. It's important for the DM to listen to the party. If there are portions of the adventure that many are dreading, it's important to see how to tweak them in such a way so that everyone enjoys things more. But what do you all think about this situation? In this next story, OP finds out that the DM's fiancé has the power to end the campaign on a whim. Let's throw the log's fiancé on the fire. So I was a college sophomore in the early 2000s that went to an anime and gaming club. One of the older members had expressed interest in running a second edition Big Eyes, Small Mouth campaign. After giving us the campaign's genre, a near-future special forces setting, like Ghost in the Shell, we all built our characters. As this was my first campaign, and I had recently played through Final Fantasy VIII, I had made a law-focused human with an experimental weapon, an arm-mounted axe with a gun barrel up the center, handed down from his missing father. One of the interesting things the DM had given us as an option was to donate character points before the campaign began towards plot twists. The idea was that by handicapping your character by 1 to 3 points at the beginning, the return on those points and what they did later on would triple down the line, similar in idea to how a character will unlock some hidden power later on in the story. So we begin the campaign with myself and 5 others, though the only player of note is the DM's fiancée, Mary. The campaign begins with some standard missions, though all planned out as operations. We'd have either an emergency call, explosion downtown, 911 call, etc., or a planned mission, escorting a VIP, protecting someone during a parade, etc. These would also include small sessions, some weeks of 2 to 3 players. This would make group games really fun to roleplay in, as our characters would share their missions, backstory they learned, and any clues to the overarching plot of the campaign. Now, Mary was just another player and was just as involved as anyone else, so I didn't catch on to any red flags. All players were getting hints to their backstories and their plot threads with a promised payoff in the last chunk of missions. My plot thread was that my father's former best friend Jimmy was now allied to the mob we were fighting against. During our first big boss battle, we were up against Jimmy. After a large-scale fight against him and several henchmen, this is the scene that played out. Jimmy falls to the ground, beaten and wounded, but alive. He has an odd smirk on his face as he lays there in defeat. I approach him. How badly is he wounded? He isn't going anywhere anytime soon. If given some first aid, he'll live, but it won't be a full recovery. I successfully shoot him in the head. You shot Jimmy? Yeah, we need to move on. We don't have time. Mind you, our characters were under no time constraints. Well, okay. The bullet hits and immediately the life drains from his eyes. Wait, he's just dead? Why would you do that? He wasn't gonna put up any fight. There's so many questions I had. Look, we have a job to do. Let's just move on. Nothing more we can do here. I was angry. That was all my plot was tied to, and the DM had obviously let him survive so that I could get that information from him. Yet at the same time, the DM just allowed his fiancée to kill him off. I was so angry and confused, I wasn't sure what to do. So our next big encounter saw us fighting 3 robotic suits controlled by the assistant to the big bad evil guy. During his monologue, he refers to the weapon I carried, saying it was a prototype of the suits in front of us. He then presses a button, and suddenly, my weapon becomes a robotic battlesuit. Ah, so this is where those plot twist points went. However, the suit is currently under his control, so I become another hostile. DM checks where everyone is standing on the map and says I attacked the closest party member, which turned out to be Mary. As he explained combat, he says that I turned to attack Mary and specifically said, now you can either fight against the suit, allow yourself to be prone inside, or add your rolls to the attack. What to do? I add my rolls to the attack. Fortunately, I didn't hit her, and a few rounds later, I was fully in control. After one more day of playing, the campaign ended abruptly. I found out later that Mary had grown tired of the campaign and their character and wanted it to just end. It was not that she needed a break or wanted to quit. Basically, if she was done, the DM also had to be done. So she was pushing for him to finish it up. So it ended very quickly, and he ended up telling players what he had written for their conclusions individually over the next few weeks. I've lost contact with the DM since then, but I stay in touch with almost everyone else who was a part of the campaign still. It looks like the DM had great ideas, but let Mary get in the way of them. Based off of this story, it looks like the DM could not simply say no to Mary. A typical response to someone rolling without being prompted by the DM would be that the DM decides when you get to roll. Frankly, I would go so far as to break the immersion just to say directly that this is a significant plot point for OP. But maybe I'm in the wrong. What do you all think about this situation? If you were in the DM's position, what would you have done about Mary?